Today we're going to decide once and for all which is the better sherried Speyside whiskey. Tamdhu 15 or Macallan 15. Time for a versus. Welcome back to McIntyre's Malts. You are here with me, Wade, on a versus challenge today between these two whiskies that have a very similar flavor profile and space in the market. We are talking about the Tamdhu 15 on your right, and of course the Macallan 15 on your left. So I figured I've got a bottle of both. Let's let the whiskey do the talking and decide with no questions by the end of this versus the best whiskey is always going to come out on top. So what I've done is I've poured a dram of each of these whiskeys into my Glencairn glasses about 15 minutes ago. So you can see here, there is a slight color difference that I get, but the Macallan has that hint more darkness. The idea here is to compare two whiskeys based on the aroma, based on the flavor, and ultimately the value proposition, and determine which is the winner out of the two. Both of these whiskeys are renowned for their sherry cask maturation. The Tamdhu does not say if it's chill filtered or not, but it comes in at 46% ABV, but it does say natural color on the back label. And the Macallan 15 comes in at 43% ABV, a little bit lower than the Tamdhu, but also says that it's natural color, and being 43%, it's highly likely that it's been chill filtered. This is the double cask expression, I should mention as well, on the Macallan 15. When I purchased this bottle, it cost me approximately $150, but I have seen it recently in the realm of $175. And the Macallan 15 double cask, I paid $250 for this bottle, but I have seen it in the realm of $300 and beyond. Now I think it's time to let these whiskeys do the talking. Okay, I'm going to start with the Macallan on your left because it has a lower ABV. On the nose. Pleasant nose. It helps quite a lot using the tasting caps to concentrate the aroma. Huge amounts of raisin, just quintessential sherried notes. Very sweet. Sticky date pudding, the caramel sauce. Let's go on the nose on the Tamdhu 15 on your right. Wow, surprisingly similar. Doing these blind, I could not tell them apart. That's how close the nose is on both of these. That's sort of really rocked my world. Of all the versus videos that I've done, I've never had a nose on two different whiskeys that is so similar, especially from two completely different distilleries. If there's any difference at all, it's maybe a touch less sweet on the nose, but yeah, if you poured a glass and told me it was Macallan or vice versa, I'd believe you. Interesting. Looks like this one is going to come down to the palate because I can't tell the two apart on the nose. Why don't I begin now with the tasting on the palate for the Macallan 15 double cask. Slàinte. The sweetness that you come to expect, the honeyed notes, the caramels, the oak is there, touch of spice. milk chocolate. Lovely. Lovely whiskey. Very pleasant. Okay, onto the Tamdhu 15 on the palate. Slange it. This is quite possibly the hardest verses that I've ever done. I've never put two whiskies up against one another that taste so similar and nose so similar to me that if I was doing this blind, I couldn't tell them apart. I can barely tell them apart now. There are subtle differences. It would depend on, I guess, the day, on what appeals to you more. The Tamdhu has a little more dryness and the Macallan has a little more sweetness. I need to nose these again, then I need to go again on my palate and get a sense of which one I'm leaning towards. At this point, there's no clear winner. I was expecting maybe that the Tamdhu would have a little bit more of an edge with the higher ABV potentially giving me a little more texture, but it hasn't really delivered in that sense. The Macallan is still sweeter. The Tamdhu is starting to develop a little more complexity now. There's more depth in the Tamdhu. It's easier to detect what the Macallan has to offer. There's those 3 to 4 key notes that exist, and there's not a lot else there. And that's fine. When you come to the Tamdhu, those notes are there, but you're picking up on something underlying that requires a little more attention and patience and time with this one. Let's go with the final sip on my palate, this time starting with the Tamdhu 15. Cheers. Lots of oak, lots of the raisins there. The spices coming in, there's some ginger now. There's a dryness, like I attribute to that Oloroso influence, potentially the cask they're using here, more so than a sweeter PX. I feel like there's a little bit more going on the Tamdhu. Now onto the Macallan 15 double cask for the final sip and finish. Okay. The differences are becoming apparent now. There's starting to be a distance between the two. I think after taking the tasting caps off and letting them get a little bit more air, the difference in the increased ABV on the Tamdhu is starting to show, having a little bit more to offer in terms of texture. The Macallan has quite a lot of flavor, but it suffers just a touch at that 43% ABV. If it was 46 and 46 neck and neck, it might put it quite high in terms of the texture above and beyond the Tamdhu, because the Tamdhu doesn't feel like it's leaps and bounds above the Macallan, even with the 3% increase on the ABV. If you poured one of these for me, I would be satisfied and thank you and enjoy it. If you told me this one that you poured here costs $250 Australian on special and typically $300 Australian, and you told me this one here costs $150 on special but $175 typically, almost half the price of this, any person that's sound of mind would say, why would I buy this? There is so much similarity between the two, and you're almost having the same expression, plus the bonus of Tamdhu giving a little more complexity now as it's starting to open up. It's only right for me to determine the winner of today's Versus Challenge as the Tamdhu 15. even if I couldn't detect any difference on these two whatsoever, why would you pay double for this? The only people that pay double for this are the people that are buying this whiskey because it says Macallan on the label, not because of the whiskey in the bottle. I'm convinced of it because I know for a fact I could give this to a Macallan lover, tell them it was Macallan, and I put money on them not being able to tell the difference between the two, because side by side I can barely tell the difference between the two. Go and get this and you will absolutely have as good, if not a better experience than what the Macallan is offering. Both great whiskies, both lovely flavors, both have lots to offer, but I would take 46% ABV at almost half the price every single day of my life. And I'm sure if you're a fan of this channel, you probably would too. Thank you very much, guys, for checking this one out. Let me know in the comments, would you have chosen the Macallan? Do you think that the price increase and the difference is worth it on the Macallan 15 over the Tamdhu 15? Have you tried them both? If you have enjoyed this, don't forget, leave a like on the video and make sure to subscribe to the channel. And while you're doing that, open up the description box and be sure to sign up to the Single Malt monthly newsletter that I publish now and get loads of great whiskey content outside of this as well. Make sure that you check out this other versus video. Until next time, cheers.